to Wings on Katella, the podcast that covers Orange County sports, the Los Angeles Angels, the Anaheim Ducks. I am TaylorBlakeWard of the Sporting Tribune. With me, our regular panel, our regular dudes, our guys, our buds, our partners, our pals. Jack Janes, you are... I tried doing the whole left to right thing with our last episode, and it didn't work. So I'm just going to go with whatever I go with. Jack Janes covers the Los Angeles Angels, Anaheim Ducks for the Sporting Tribune. You can find him on socials at JackJanes_Jack. How is your Friday going?
Going good. Pretty relaxing. Got a Angel game tonight to work, so that'll be exciting. Talk to the guys, see what their thoughts are on how the Angels trade deadline went, and I'm sure we'll get into our thoughts on how the trade deadline went pretty soon.
Sounds good. We got the Vibe Man himself. He's here for the vibes. My dude, my guy, my pal, Mr. ZachCav. He covers the Anaheim Ducks for the Sporting Tribune. You can find him on socials at ZachCav, ZachCav. ZachCav. Ana. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Literally not much. It's that time of the year for Duck stuff, and I took that time to go to the gym for the first time in a few years this week, and my arms are they're rebelling against me. I don't think they're on my body anymore.
Well, as I said in our last show, you look good. You look great.
Thanks, man.
So
working on it.
Speaking of looking good, looking great, looking all things stuff, glasses, cool guy outside. He's a man of mystery. He changes locations every day. Mr. Thomas Murray. You can follow him on socials at Thomas_L_Murray. He covers the Angels and the Ducks for the Sporting Tribune as well. Thomas Lee Murray. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, man. It's a nice day, so I decided to go outside and do this thing and just throw my hotspot up. I should give you a heads up. I think in terms of the layout of the podcast, as the person who edits it, it's just kind of randomized all over. I think everybody sees different layouts and everything. So like for me, I'm on the top left, Jack's on my right, you're on the bottom right, and Zach's right below me. So it's just very randomized.
I got 4 across. So
perfect. How are you, Taylor?
The Fantastic Four. Me? How am I?
Yeah, how are you doing?
How am me?
Yeah.
I'm here. It's a starting point. We'll see how it goes after the next half hour of talking about the Angels trade deadline. That is going to be the focus of today's conversation. Before we get to that, our bold, broad question of the day. Any of you guys see Happy Gilmore 2 yet?
I did.
Not wasting any of my hours
only
with
Thomas?
that. No.
Thomas, what'd you think?
You know what? For a sequel, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was going to be... I didn't think it was really going to be good, but I actually thought it was a pretty fun movie. Also, really good cameos throughout the movie. Scotty Scheffler, probably best cameo in the movie. Fooled me to be an actor.
Everything that was said by Thomas, I firmly agree with. I actually loved it. Thought it was great. Scotty Scheffler's a man. He was perfect for... He was perfectly doing great things as playing Scotty Scheffler. So, great deal. We are here today to talk about the Angels trade deadline. I think the big subject here is that when people are talking about what you didn't do as opposed to what you did do, is a little bit of a problem. Let's just get into the bulk of what they did do. They were able to acquire Oswaldo Peraza from the Yankees, Luis Garcia and Andrew Chafin from the Nationals in exchange for, respectfully, next to nothing. So in broad scale terms, they did improve the roster. I don't even know where to go, guys. I mean, I'm not going to cut corners here. This was pretty underwhelming. Very underwhelming is the way I would put it. Perry Minasian obviously did have his explanation as to why the Angels did what they did. I think just open floor today. I don't have like a set. Let's go here. Let's go here. Let's go. I know I sent you guys the script and everything like that. Let's go broad terms here, Jack. Just broad thoughts on the Angels trade deadline, and then we'll go into the rest of the discussion here.
Yeah, like you said, underwhelming. I really wasn't I mean, if you listen to the last episode, I said I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't really do anything, but I didn't think they'd actually do nothing, you know? Yeah, I didn't think I'd be right about that. But in the grand scheme of things, in which we'll get into later in more in depth, but other than Kenley Jansen and Taylor Ward, I don't think they had anybody of value that would have gotten you anything back. So I can't really blame them for not trading them, because why make a trade just to make a trade? I don't think any of the prospects they would have gotten back for Rengifo or Anderson or Kyle Hendricks would have been anything that'll make the big leagues at some point and help the major league team in any way. So I can't really blame him for those guys. But yeah, Kenley Jansen, it feels like there was a pretty good market for relievers out there, which we'll get into more in depth later. But yeah, it's kind of how I feel. Just kind of like underwhelmed and also not totally surprised.
Yeah, just to give just to hit the 6-minute mark and give a generalized thing here about that. When you're doing the trade deadline, you're actually watching. We're doing the same thing you guys are. We're watching Passan, we're watching Rosenthal, we're watching Heyman, we're watching Feinsand, etc. That's what I was doing. I don't know, you guys, but I did get a text message at like 2:00 yesterday from an agency, and I started pushing for about 5 minutes and found out that it was an attempt to stir the pot. So for every little bit, just to share the information that I did have, there was no market on Luis Rengifo. And it was not the Cubs, it was not the Phillies, such as my little friend wanted to suggest. And I hate people that try to stir the pot and create shit that have the power to do it. And so screw that guy. That is no longer a source I'm going to live on. So just to get that out of the way, see if Beyond the Halo's listening. Hey, buddy, good to see you. Zach, what's going on with you, man? What are you thinking on this? I mean, trade deadline stuff. What are we thinking?
Well, I had a little game I wanted to play with you guys.
Okay, I like games.
I have 3 different quotes, and I want you guys to play a little game of who said that. All right. So, let's see. Which one should I start with? Okay, I'll start here. I'm excited where our team is right now. It was our goal to be fighting for a playoff spot, and here we are. And I want the young players to go through this. This is an important part of the development process, to play meaningful games, to understand the pressure, and we're going to be playing teams that are fighting just as hard as we are. So it's very important that they go through that. Who said that?
Pat Verbeek.
Perry.
That's Pat Verbeek.
Oh.
That was Pat Verbeek.
This is a good game. Ooh, I like this game.
Here's another one. Let's see. Where to go?
I like this game.
I think we're kind of in a position right now. I got to let the horses run. We've got a lot of young guys in the lineup, and I think it's important we've got to see what they got to do. And I want them to experience it. It's huge for their development. It's huge for the organization to have this opportunity to play. Who said that?
I don't think that's Perry.
I'm going to go Bob Murray.
That's also Pat Verbeek.
I was going to say either Pat or Cronin.
Yeah.
And then this one. To play how we've played, to experience the environment, and it's great for young players to go through. Our group is pretty solid, and it's getting better by the day. Giving that group a chance to play this thing out over the last 2 months made a lot of sense. Who said that?
That's Perry.
Yeah, that's Perry.
That was yesterday.
Point being, when I listened to some of the comments yesterday, specifically there was another one Perry said, let me pull that one up, of at the end of the day, we felt like this was the best way to go. To me, being competitive in August, being competitive in September, playing meaningful games in August is very, very important. When I heard the phrase meaningful games, I went into a headspin, because that's what Pat Verbeek has been saying for 16 months as the GM of the Anaheim Ducks. So my point in all of that to be, these are 2 teams that are in kind of similar-ish positions, and both of them with some underwhelming moves. And in the Angels' case, I think they're maybe more realistically closer to a playoff spot than the Ducks were at their own trade deadline back in March. But the idea of just like coming out after you don't make any moves and saying, "Oh no, everything's good. Let these horses run. Let's see how this plays out," is like, okay. And what are you going to get out of that exactly? Yes, the experience is good, but like, do you really think you're ready to compete for a playoff spot? Are you sticking in that race, or do you think that this team still needs more and you probably should have sold off pieces to get better for next year? And what Perry did was neither. And I saw he got pressed a little bit about when the competitive window is, and just gave several non-answers to it. And it's sort of a thing of, what are you doing? Like, what is your end goal here? Because if you're just sort of, if you come out and say, hey, the price for buying guys was too high, you say, okay, understandable. Or you say, hey, we're in this for a playoff spot. I like the group we have. Okay. But he didn't say that. He was just like, I just want to see where this goes. It's like, that's not really a strategy, other than inaction is not a strategy. Inaction is inaction. It's not, there's always the idea, if you're not changing, you're getting worse. And I think this is an example of that. Like, yes, you bring in a few relievers. Is that really going to make the difference one way or another to the Angels staying in or moving up in this wild card race, especially when the teams ahead of them did a lot more than they did? I can't say that is. So I think that's just, as you said, underwhelming altogether, but a little disheartening in terms of, you're trying to move this franchise forward to a more competitive spot, and you didn't do anything to move forward or fall backwards. You just sort of stood pat, and that's not where this team should be.
Yeah, I'm adding a few things to our notes for later on some of the things you pointed here. You made a lot of good points. Just going to sit on that. No, you did. It's things that
not bad for a vibes guy.
Valid. Yeah, sitting here for the vibes. Shoot, I had a thought process on something that totally went away really fast. Thomas, your thoughts here on the trade deadline as I try and regain my thought process as quick as I can. Oh no, real quick, the thought process. I was on the phone with someone at 3:00 at the time, and he said, so like, obviously I'm not an Angels fan. I don't care what the Angels do, but it's also nice to cover a team that has a direction. It's nice to, like, when your job isn't the same as it has been for 12 years as it has been in my situation. And he's like, what's going on? And I said, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. And then I asked him to tweet that for me in a sense. So Jared, thank you for taking on that reins of tweeting that out, because I thought it was absolutely beautiful and the exact reason of what is going on. Like I said, it does not matter to me one way what the Angels do, one way, any direction. But I do want to cover a better team, or at least a team with a direction. And that's where I'm at. Thomas, your thoughts?
That's why I brought up the Ducks stuff specifically. It's just the idea that, like, it's the same story again.
Yeah, and I don't care what the Ducks do. I do, to a sense of, you want to cover a better team. You want a better team in your local market, and you want to see the Ducks do well. But in broad strokes, I don't care. I really don't. I know that sounds awful, but Thomas, your thoughts on the Angels trade deadline?
Sure. Bouncing off what Zach just said, though. Tale of two similar tales, right, between the Angels and Ducks, just who can do this exact same thing, and go from that. I think I just want to open my thoughts with a quote. They are who we thought they were. Dennis Green of the Cardinals when he was coaching there. The Angels did exactly what we all thought they would do versus what we all hoped they would do, regardless if you like them or not. You want to see some direction of where they're headed, right? Are they gonna be sellers? Are they gonna be buyers? I could say it's definitely good that they weren't buyers like a few years ago, just because of how that played out with Giolito and all that stuff. But yeah, I think the Angels really squandered an opportunity. No offense to you, Taylor, but I think TaylorBlakeWard should have been traded. I think, like I said last episode, if there's one person you hold on to, it's Kenley Jansen, and that's just so you can try to re-sign him for next year. But even then, I still would have traded Kenley Jansen, especially just seeing what everyone, other teams were getting for relievers, closers during the deadline yesterday. And Angels are just pretty much doing what are just insanity, doing the exact same thing over and over again, expecting different results. At some point, you have to just kind of commit to where you're headed. And, frankly, I think their window to be in the playoffs to start winning will be much more sooner if they just learn to accept defeat once in a while. And, last year's deadline, I thought it was a pretty good deadline by them, to be honest. And I was like, okay, maybe they'll do something very similar. And they were like, oh, well, we won a few big series. We beat a couple good teams this year. And, maybe we actually have a shot to make the playoffs, despite being, 4 games under 500 right now. This team's been allergic to being 500 all season. So it's just really tough to see. And I don't understand the thinking, but I also understand that maybe GM doesn't really get to make the moves that he actually wants to move, and a source of higher power is above him and is limiting what he can and can't do. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. I mean, I was mentioning on a show yesterday. I was a guest on a podcast yesterday, and I was saying, Perry Manassi and his staff work for someone, and when you work for someone, you have to do what they ask of you to do. By whatever technicality we're going to call it, you guys technically do work for me in a sense because I'm your editor. If I ask you to do a story, you've got to at least make an attempt at that story, right? Whatever it is. Like I said, we can roll eyes because it's not true. You guys don't work for me. I work for you. I love you guys. But you get the point. Perry has to do what ownership wants to do. And I think you'd have to be blind to see that ownership has had an impact on this team, not just this trade deadline, not this year, but for the past long amount of years. 2 decades. I mean, realistically, it's been 2 decades. And more dramatically in the last 5 years than just the last. And what's been going on the last 10 years? They haven't made the playoffs. They haven't finished above 500, right? And maybe that's another thing. If they came out and said the goal, hey, we just want to finish 500. We just want to finally freaking do it. Good. That's a goal. That's an attainment. That's a marker. But you didn't come out and say that. Zach, you mentioned it. I think obviously Sam Blum is the one that's going to get heat for this because he was the one that was a little more direct with his question. But we all asked the form of the question of, hey, do you think you're going to be competitive? Like, you're saying you're going to be competitive for the next 2 months. What about that third month? What about October? Like, that's where it matters, right? And we're going to get into that. But, like you said, it was non-answers. It was, I can't predict the future. I'm not going to get into predicting the future. And it's like, dude, you need to look towards 2026. Like, October is not the future. That's now. Like, what you did these last 72 hours, that dictates your October. That dictates your next 14 months. So that's where, I agree with you, Zach. It's non-answers, and Sam Blum is the one that's going to get the pressure because he's the one that kind of went a little heavier-hearted on the questions because he had the floor at the time. But that's the question: is did you get better enough to get to October? And if that wasn't the goal, if October wasn't the goal, what is the goal? Is it 500? Is it just to improve to be 75 wins? Is it just to improve to be? Because we'll get into it. We'll get into it more about whether or not they were good enough. Oh, there he goes, Thomas. He got mad. He doesn't like, he got offended. No, Thomas is dealing with some stuff. We're going to bring him in and out if you're listening or if you're tuning in on the YouTube side. And you see here, Thomas is going to be in and out, and that's perfectly fine. I'm sure there's a text message right there. See it? Let's see. What do we got?
Internet.
See, there you go. He's not the only one. I'm not the only one. So
to build on what you're saying there, Taylor, it's like if you're trying to make the playoffs this year, you didn't do anything to do that.
Well, and hold off on that thought because I do want to. That's going to be a section of the podcast coming up. But I agree. No, go ahead. Sorry, I know.
Well, and then the other part is okay. So you didn't do anything to move yourselves up. Well, you look. Who's the team right behind the Angels in the wild card standings? Just a game and a half behind them. The Minnesota Twins, who got rid of 10 guys yesterday.
I was going to say it was the Twins and the Orioles who both sold.
Right. It's like, what is the difference between you and them? It's not a lot. So I just it's again the idea of, is your goal to make the playoffs this year? Well, if that's the case, then you should have done more. If the goal is to build up your system and build up your franchise going forward, then there was clearly a market to sell guys, and you didn't buy into that. Instead, you did nothing, and now I think you're in a worse spot than you are if you're Minnesota. Like, in Minnesota, you at least got some stuff to play around with going forward. The Angels are what they've been, and you got to hope that turns into something more going forward. But
I would agree, and I have my general opinions about Minnesota because, first off,
sure, there's a lot.
No, that group in itself has a track record of knowing what they're doing, right? Derek Falvey and that group knows what they're doing. Sean Johnson, they all know what they're doing with that group. That's where it's a little trickier. I'd like to think the Angels have an idea of where they're going and what they're doing, but I just don't know. I don't. And I've covered this team more extensively than the Minnesota Twins, but when I look at the Minnesota, like, the big thing for me yesterday, and it has nothing to do with anything, Pittsburgh Pirates didn't do crap. Like, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Andrew Heaney, Tommy Pham, all still on that team. They get nothing for those guys. And that's a team that has no, like, contention this year. They are not good. So I don't know. I mean, like, could it be worse? Sure. You could be Pittsburgh. Like, whatever it is, right? You could be Pittsburgh and also not sign your 50th overall pick. I think there's a lot going on wrong there. But I want to stick with the script just a little bit here. And Jack, Thomas, when were you at the stadium last? I'm going to start with you, Tom. When were you at the stadium last?
I was there on Monday this week. So first
Jack,
game of the Texas series.
You were there on Monday, too. You were there on Saturday or Sunday, though, more? So
Monday. I was Monday, Friday, Thursday.
I was there on Sunday and Monday, Taylor.
Let's go Thomas first, because I was there on Tuesday. Thomas, when you were there on Monday, what was the perception of what the Angels were going to do at the deadline?
A mystery. I mean, you want me to be honest, it was a mystery. We all wondered what they were going to do. Like I said, I think my guess was, like, no matter what you do, you got to sell. I don't think anybody in the room really knew what was going to happen. I know you came by the next day on Tuesday, and you talked to TaylorBlakeWard about possibly being traded. I think Sam asked him a little bit about that after the game on Monday, and, hey, it's a possibility, and, he just gave us, like, the political answer, and, he did tell us that he wants to win with these boys. So, I mean, I could tell you from the locker room that, hello? I could tell you from the locker room that a lot of the guys wanted to stay ultimately, and that makes sense. And in any locker room, I don't think guys ever want to get traded in any sport, especially when you've been with these guys for months at this point of the year, and you've developed all these relationships. It's hard to go somewhere else and start anew. But yeah, no, I think it really was a mystery though for where they were headed.
Jack, anything different from when you were there over the weekend?
No, not really. It was just a lot of, what are they going to do? I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. What are they going to do? I don't know. And it seemed like with every game that passed, it would change the answer. If they lost, I think they're going to sell. If they won, they might be buyers. It's like they kept flip-flopping back and forth, and no one could get a definitive answer. And even the front office was flipping back and forth. If you read ESPN stuff, and Buster Olney said the same thing on the Baseball Tonight podcast. He said they were sellers, and then they changed course after the first two games of the Texas series. So it was really hard to tell what clear-cut path there was. And we keep talking about, committing to a path and committing to something. It's hard to do that when you have an owner that is refusing to go through a rebuild, and you don't have the prospects to go out and make a playoff push. So you're forever going to be stuck in that middle ground.
Yeah. So Tuesday night, or I'll just even start. Tuesday when I got to the ballpark at 2 o'clock or whatever, still felt like they were selling, right? I go up to TaylorBlakeWard and ask him, hey, like, I think Taylor gave me a little bit more of an honest-hearted answer of, I loved the quote that he gave was, Perry has to do what's best for the team. I hope I'm what's best for the team. I love that quote. I thought that was that's like you said, Thomas. No one wants to be traded, especially a guy that's been there for a decade. I mean, I know he's an 8-year major leaguer or whatever, but like a guy's been with the Angels for a decade of his life, and he's only 30 years old. That's a third of his life has been spent with one employer. That's a tough thing. Now, a guy like Yoan Moncada, who is still a young guy, but he's been through teams. He went from Boston to Chicago to L.A. Luis Rengifo is a tough one because he's been with 2, but you get majority with the Angels. Kenley Jansen is as experienced a veteran as anyone's ever going to get. I mean, this is a guy that is at least borderline Hall of Famer to a degree, whatever your opinion is on closers. But you get these guys, and I'm talking to him pregame. I'm talking to Taylor. I'm talking to Robert Stevenson. I'm talking to a few guys, and it's like, okay, well, they don't want to move, but there's this anticipation of maybe we do get moved, right? They have this feeling. There's this vibe that's going on. Vibe guy, Zach, how you doing? There's this vibe that they feel like they might be moved. The game goes on, and we're talking about this through dinner time. I'm sitting with Sam. I'm sitting with Rhett. I'm sitting with Jeff, and we're all talking about it. It's like, yeah, well, they're going to sell. End of the night, end of the game, that mood completely shifted. Like, it wasn't like a 180. It was like a 540. I mean, it's almost like it did a huge flip. And to the degree of Kenley Jansen almost pleading to buy, to a degree, it felt like there was a shift on Monday night, Tuesday night. Somewhere between that shift. And then, obviously, they lost on Wednesday. And that's where it's like, okay, well, maybe there was another shift. Who knows? The fact that they were still doing meetings on Monday and Tuesday about what they were going to do at the deadline as opposed to actually focusing and doing things on the deadline was very interesting to me. I don't know if I would have called the Wednesday trade buying. I think that was just – I really do think that did improve the roster and getting 2 rental relievers. I know Jake Eater is a prospect, but I think Jake Eater is what he is. And respect to Sam Brown, Sam Brown might make a 40-man roster someday. I hope he does. He's a great guy, but I don't think they surrendered anything. So I'm trying to think, Zach, as you're listening to this, because we were able to see it, firsthand a little bit, but as you're listening to the three of us talk about this, do you feel that maybe there was a shift change? Do you, like, just listening to what we're saying?
It literally feels like between reading all the reporting from elsewhere during the week, listening to you guys talk to it now, watching your reporting, obviously, the fact that like their whims were changing on a day-to-day basis, whether or not they won or lost a baseball game, 1 out of 162 baseball games, like what kind of process is that? That, like, okay, let's assume that they had won one more game than they have, and now all of a sudden they're 3.5 out, and you're still a couple games under 500. Are you really saying, like, okay, now's the time to go in because we're going to get on a hot streak and we're going to blaze our way to that? Like, there's still 2 months left. Like, there's nothing that they've shown over the course of the previous, 4 months now, that they can be consistent enough to get over that hump and get into that playoff race. So if I don't know what they're seeing or what they're deluding themselves into, or if they are just being told from above, like, no, I see something here, already sees something, and they're going to keep going forward. And if that's the case, then, I mean, that's just the problem that this team has had for on a decade now. And what do you do? So in terms of, like, what their thought process is, it's just, as someone on the outside, it's very frustrating to see of, like, you guys have no idea. It doesn't seem like they have any idea. And everything changes on the direction of the wind on any given day. It's kind of crazy to have that be their thought process at this point, when it seems like they should have a little bit more of a concrete path forward. Like, for all the hems and haws about what the Ducks have done over the last couple of years, there's at least been like a steady trajectory and sort of an endpoint of, we're working towards this, and we are doing everything we're doing is working towards that. Now, there's some things that go against that, and we criticize those things rightly, but there's at least a train track going forward of, you never sway too far in and out of what's here. Where the Angels are kind of coming up to a fork in the tracks and keep flipping the switch one way or the other. That's not healthy for the growth of this team at this point.
No. I mean, I think we mentioned, and this is something I want to point out, is I've mentioned it, and I know there's been disparity between it. This team is different. No denying that this team is different from years past, right? This is a better team, I think better than that 2023 team that bought at the deadline for different. That was an ownership decision to know it. That was something else, right? And that was mentioned. Shout out to Mike DiGiovanna for asking a really weird and tough question yesterday. But this team is different. And on Tuesday night, Mike Trout said it. Kenley Jansen said it, which Kenley Jansen's only been here for a year, but he's seen it. TaylorBlakeWard mentioned it. They all said this team is different. Right? Like, not verbatim, but very similar terms. At the same time, you still have 3,000 people sitting in right field on Wednesday night chanting "Sell the team," and among other things, I'm not gonna say it, but among other things, they still have this view of, hey, we're getting better, we're a good team. Fan perspective is still the same of, we need something new, we need something different here. And I think I don't remember who it was. It might have been Sam Blum was saying this. There is not a fan base that's going to embrace a sell as hard as what the Angels would have done the last 2 years. I think the Angels fan base would have embraced that heavily as long as there was a direct word line saying, this is a rebuild. We're selling, we're rebuilding, it's going to be as quick a turnaround as we can, we're still targeting this window.
See, I don't think you even need to use the rebuild word. Like, I think, in my mind, like, yes, I agree with you that I think the team, at its core, is getting better. But you can sell the idea of, we're selling off guys to bolster this lineup for the future. That's not a rebuild, right?
That's improving for the future.
Right, and I think that's the tack they probably should have taken, or at least if you're going to sell it to people. And I think, like you said, I think this fan base would have embraced that idea of, okay, you're actually doing something to move forward and not just sort of hoping it pans out, which is kind of what it seems like you're doing now.
Thomas?
Yeah, I do want to add something too that I think is important, because with the deadline, you need to look ahead and you need to look forward. 6 of the 8 opponents the Angels are going to play in the month of August, they all have 500 or better records, and a few of them are very good. Houston, who got significantly better yesterday. You have the Dodgers coming to town. You're going to play the Cubs, who have been one of the best teams in the National League. Cincinnati, 57-53. And then you're also going to play against another team that's competing for the wild card with the losing record, 54-56 in Tampa Bay. I mean, you want to play meaningful baseball and you want to get to the postseason, but you have to look ahead and see what you're actually, is that path going to be easy? What's ahead in the road? And I mean, this month alone, they're going to have to play some big boy baseball games. You get the A's and the White Sox. That's nice, but it's just not going to cut it at the end of the day.
No, and I was going to mention that at some point, is they are playing well against some good teams. They're 3-0 against the Dodgers this year at Dodger Stadium, right? They went 3-1 at Yankee Stadium during that. I mean, they're playing well against good teams, but the big round broad number I'm looking at, 7-0 against the Athletics, which they should be. I don't even want to say they should be, but you beat the team that you really need to, and that's what's putting it. Imagine if they don't have those 7 games, they are now 11 games under 500, right? And you can't take away that they won those 7 games. They still won them. Doesn't matter. But going 7-0 against a team that you should be beating, it's important, but it puts you in this scenario of, are you really good? Like, I mean, I look at, let's see. I mean, I've got the records right here in front of me. So in division, against Houston, 2-4. That's fine. It's 2 games under, whatever, right? Seattle 4-5, Texas 4-6. So you combine those, that's 4. So that's 8, 10. So 10. You have 4 with the 5 and the 6. So the 10-15 against Texas, Houston, and Seattle. 7-0 against Oakland, or whatever they are. It's future Vegas. You can't spell Vegas without Luis DeVries or Leo DeVries. You've proven that you're better. You've proven that point. Now you have to prove that you're way better than you thought you were. 10-15 in division is not a bad place for a team that's at the back of the division. It's not. If you're playing, I guess what is that? That's 333 baseball? No. I don't know. 10-25. I'm not great with math. Whatever. You're winning
not a math show.
One out of every, or two, whatever. 2 out of every 3.
400.
Right?
400 winning percentage.
There you go. Thank you. That's not bad for a team at the back of the division, but you don't want to be at the back of the division. You want to be at the front. And that, what was Ron Washington saying, right? We're coming for you. We're doing this. You haven't proven that yet. You have not proven that yet by any standard. So as much as you want to hear that they're playing competitive games in August and September, they've got to really show something that we haven't seen in August. So this sentence says that it actually does matter in September.
I'd like to also add, Taylor, that historically they've never played great against Houston. They still have 2 more series against Houston this year. They have to play in Houston at the end of this month, and then the last series of the season is a home series, but it's against the Astros. And
they got cooked by the Astros one game. I mean, they did cook against the Astros one game, but
historically this year and past years, like, they haven't really proven that they can beat the Astros. And depending where the Astros are at the end of September, they could be playing meaningful baseball, playing for seeding in the playoffs, or they're all wrapped up. It's just a big what if, though.
Well, and Taylor, you brought up specifically the records against Seattle and Texas. Those are 2 teams that the Angels would have to climb over to get into a wild card spot right now, right? And so those are games where you say, okay, if we had beaten if you had a better record against Seattle and Texas, and
but
you were
one game each, right?
Right. And it's like then you can maybe sell the idea that, hey, we're in the mix here. But you'd have to climb over those 2 teams, not to mention Cleveland, Kansas City, Tampa Bay right now. And it's like that's just a lot to jump, and you haven't shown that you're ready to do that because you can't beat 2 of those 5 teams in at least in a meaningful way, more than a game in one direction or the other. So,
and going back to the schedule in August, I mean, Detroit, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Rangers, the Astros, all in August. And how many times have I said that in years prior they have really struggled in August? Like, how many times they just completely fall apart in August? So if history repeats itself again, I mean, what's their record going to look like at the end of August playing all those teams?
If in 30 days they're now 8.5 games out, for example, like, you're going to look pretty foolish for not doing anything yesterday.
Absolutely.
Like, if this thing tumbles out of control, you're going to look pretty dumb.
Very.
I mean, they bought at the deadline and then lost 6 straight and then had to release 5 guys to get under the luxury tax so Artie Moreno could save $2 million.
Yeah.
I want to shift gears by staying on the same gear. Perry Manassian very openly said the reason for what they did is so that the young core can play these competitive games in August and September. And we're talking about this young core. We all know who it is. Neto, Ohapi, Seanwell, Soriano, etc. Right? He mentioned very specifically, and this is verbatim, he cannot quantify this. He cannot show you on paper where he can prove this. I think that's transparent. I'll give him that. I'll hand that to him, right? You can't quantify this.
I thought that was a good quote. Yeah.
It is. What do they have to do to prove to these guys, to actually make them better with these competitive games? Jack, I want to go to you. You mentioned this last podcast of standing pat so that you can play these games, right? And we've already mentioned the schedule's tough. They have to do it. We went into the whole point of what if they don't do it and they lose out here? They're bad for the rest of the year. What happens if this group goes 7 games over 500 the rest of the year? They finish with like 83 wins on the year. They're not. They've got to go pretty wild to make a playoff push, right? But let's say they win 83, 84 games instead of losing 83, 84 games. What does that do for this club?
It's a huge confidence boost in the young core, especially. It gives them a sense of feeling of like we belong here, we can compete. We just need a few more horses in the stable, and we can really make a push for the playoffs. And I think what it'll do is hopefully force the front office and especially the guy up top, Artie Moreno, to kind of open the checkbook this winter and be really aggressive towards free agency and stuff like that. Because the the realization is that they don't have the prospects to make meaningful trades to add to this major league roster, so they're going to have to fill out their roster with free agents, and they have the money to do that. It's just, are they willing to spend that money? And I think if they have a strong enough second half where they stay in it, they don't fall apart, and they're, maybe 3 games out of a wild card spot heading into the last couple of weeks of September, I think that'll do a lot for this club to push ownership into maybe pushing their chips in this offseason and being more aggressive. And it also is a learning experience for all those young guys to, what does it take to play in meaningful games in September? Because they're going to have to do it eventually. So they're going to have to learn how to do it. So it's a different grind in September. You hear it all the time. It's different when you're fighting for your life in the playoff spot. So it could be meaningful, but they got to get through August 1st. And that remains to be seen.
I was going to say, with this young core, only some of them have played competitive games in June when it comes to going to Omaha. I don't think Zach with Campbell, Neto Campbell, I don't think
Shanwell with FAU.
I'm trying to think, like, Ohapi, I don't know if the Phillies minor league teams, when he was with them, did anything. I can't say that for sure, right? Christian Moore obviously played at the highest level of college baseball and went and won a championship as the heart and soul of that Tennessee team. No doubt about that. He was the MVP by a large margin. He took over that World Series. I'm not so worried about Christian, but like you said, September is a different dog than June. Playing that many games. These guys have not played, and I'm thinking about this off the top of my head right now. Outside of Christian Moore, no one on this roster that's young has played a competitive game. Like a do-or-die meaningful game. The only one I can think of is Caden Dana. And the only reason I say Caden Dana is because he pitched a make-or-break playoff game for the Angels in the Arizona back in the Complex League. Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I'm not trying to be weird about it, but like, yeah, he had high pressure. It's still the complex. It's still the complex league, but he's the only one that has high pressure innings. High pressure, like do or die. You lose this game, your season's done, kind of thing. Yeah. Angels this young Angels core has never had that. Their do or die game happens on August 15th every year. If you can have that do or die game be September 15th or even better, September 25th this year. We went with all the negatives. I'm not trying to sway this into a positive note, but there is that brief sense of, hey, some of these guys need this. This is a development twist. And for a team that refused to develop these guys and just toss them into the fire, this is your development moment. So I do understand at least that sense of what Perry was saying. As much as I don't agree with it, I understand it. Even if it was political. So I don't know. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree?
No, Taylor, look, from Thomas and I can tell you from our times covering the Ducks at the end of the year, there was plenty of those fairy tale moments of, hey, if we just win this and win that, and hey, we're right there. This is going to be great. And then they lost to Chicago, and then they lost to Buffalo, and then and then all of a sudden, all this good hope you had for like 5 days is gone.
Did they have it in their career prior though?
Yeah, I mean, some of these guys have been playing. A lot of the Ducks defensive guys have played in Memorial Cups.
That's what I'm talking about.
World Juniors. I mean, the Mason McTavish moment in World Juniors.
Yeah, right, they've had that moment. Outside of this, like Neto was not Team USA. Sean was not Team USA. FIU and Campbell, as good as the programs they are, they've never made Omaha. Like this is the first time they played competitive games.
But that's what I'm saying, that for this Angels team right now, this idea of like, hey, what if things go right? What if they go on a hot streak? Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of what ifs and fairy tales that we can spin, but like, I know you wanted to have the positive note here, but I think what Jack said is right too. If they get to that point, then all of a sudden the offseason is completely different. The thing that I would add on to what Jack said of like, yes, opening the checkbook and them not having any prospects to make any meaningful trades, you know how they could have had some prospects to make some meaningful trades in the offseason?
Yes.
If they traded some guys yesterday, if they traded Shohei Ohtani 2 years ago, it's like there's all these options to build up the war chest, and they don't have that. So now it's all relying on the free agent market. And for all of what we've said about the Angels over the years, Artie has spent money at times. But when you ask Artie to spend the money, what ends up happening is not always the best for the team in the long run.
Jack, I think you were ready to jump in on that. So we can kind of pivot to a degree. Whether or not they did enough to move the needle for August and September. Something I asked Perry very directly, was there a chance at attaining impact? Was there a chance at improving this roster enough with an impact player at the top of the market? And his answer, let me just pull it up here. It's there were costly opportunities, weighing those opportunities, it just didn't make sense. What would they have been able to trade in value that would have brought back something? I cover this farm system. I love these kids. You'd have had to have traded, if you wanted to bring back any form of impact, it would have had to have been Christian Moore, Caden Dana, George Clausen. Outside of that, you weren't getting anything.
Sure, I don't think they should have been trading those guys for something, right? Like,
but that's you couldn't have improved the team with the farm system. You couldn't have.
I'm saying that you improve the farm system by trading away guys that are on the current roster.
That's fair. So to that note, I'll give you this. Like, I think that Jeff Fletcher and I talked about this morning actually, is the Ryan Helsley trade with St. Louis, right? With the New York Mets. Very comparable in a sense to what Kenley Jansen would have brought back. As to my understanding, the primary package, the main player of that, is remarkably comparable to Joswell Lugo in the Angels farm system. Joswell Lugo is not he's not a top 5 prospect in the system. He's like he's somewhere between the 5 to 10 range in the system, right? I would have wanted more back. It's a lottery ticket. Joswell Lugo is a lottery ticket. He's good. He can hit the crap out of the ball. He is 18 years old, and he's still in the complex. There's no immediate impact here when it comes to the farm system either. And I know that you have to grow from the ground up. You have to grow from the amateur front, but your window starts in 26. You needed something more than just a lottery ticket here to do this. And Kenley Jansen was the only one that was bringing back anything. Yohan Moncada, I think some teams would have offered another lottery ticket for Yohan Moncada. Luis Rengifo had absolutely no market. You could have traded Reed Detmers, TaylorBlakeWard, etc., but it does impact your immediate future, your next year. I'm not talking about October. I'm talking about next October. That's where I think you didn't have the value to gain value, and you weren't bringing back a ton of value that would have done much for you moving forward. It may have done a little bit for you, and maybe one of these lottery tickets does click, but that's a gamble of it's. I think we were talking about last episode. The 40 innings that Tyler Anderson provides are more important than whatever you're getting back in return. The value of having Kenley and Yohan and Rengifo and all these guys on this team this year, does that development for Seanwell and Neto and those guys outweigh what would have come back in return? And I'm not, like I said, I'm not agreeing with this at all. I think they should have sold. I think they should have sold everything that they had. Any rental, right? I mentioned it last show. Moncada, Rengifo, Jansen, get what you can for them. That's what I would have done. But you have to look at where you're counterweighing where's the value in this. Was keeping them more valuable than sending them off? So that's the way I think we have to look at it. And like I said, as much as I do not agree under any circumstance with what they did, it at least makes a form of sense.
And going back to Kenley, like the Kenley and Ryan Helsley comparison, Kenley Jansen's going to be 38 by the end of the season. He already has diminished velocity, and he's already given up a bunch of hard contact. So yes, his numbers look good. The 2.93 ERA looks good. The 1.05 WHIP ERA looks good. But I do wonder how many other front offices looked at trading for Kenley Jansen and saw the numbers under the hood and the hard hit rate and his age and the diminished velocity and had doubts and had questions. And I wonder what the return would have been if the Angels did make a Kenley Jansen trade. Is that worth going through all that? Or, like you said, like, is it worth bringing in somebody, or is it worth more than having your young guys go through this?
Yeah, I would have. The one guy I would have thought about trading when I saw the value of the relief market, because the relief market was insane. Like, I mean, I think Mason Miller is great. I get he has years of control, but Leo DeVries, that was substantial. I would have, after seeing what that was, I would have thought about moving Reed Detmers. I really would have thought about it. With what the Angels are doing with Reed Detmers, let someone else take that on. So. Zach, I apologize. I know I kind of was like really arguing against your point, but you're making good points. And like I said, I don't agree with what the Angels did under any circumstance, but I think we have to at least weigh the options of what they did.
So because I don't think we've actually talked a whole lot about who they got as the layman here.
We will, I guess.
Can you sell me on who they acquired yesterday?
No, not at all. They improved their roster very minimally. No, I mean, like...
Are you kidding? Andrew Chafin's got some of the best hair in the game.
Oh, no, Andrew Chafin is a dude among bros. I mean, like, he is, like, the coolest guy in baseball. No doubt about it. He like, clubhouse-wise, great. Performance-wise, both Luis Garcia and Andrew Chafin are fine relievers that do improve your bullpen. That's the only... They improved their bullpen by X amount, and they swapped Kevin Newman for a guy that has 5 years of control. So, like, no, I cannot sell you on this. I think a lot of people are mentioning that Oswaldo Peraza needs a change of scenery. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but you can't ignore that this is one of the worst bats in the majors. He can field, he can run, no doubt about it, but you can't ignore that he's been bad offensively, and been bad offensively for 4 years. It's 150. He's got a full season's over 4 years. He's got a full season's worth of at bats, and it hasn't been good. So no, I cannot sell you on Oswaldo Peraza. They didn't. The one thing I would say, they didn't give up anything. I mean, Wilberson de Pena, like, he was signed for $50,000 as a scrappy dude. He was a scrappy shortstop. He's only played left field in the DSL. He's a 2-year DSL guy. I know that, like, the international money, some people might throw fits. That was for this year. They weren't going to sign anyone, and they can still get someone for $10,000 because it doesn't go to their pool. So, if an emergency miracle Jose Fermin shows up again, they can still go get him. But they don't need the rest of the money. So they didn't give anything. And like I said, Sam Brown, Jake Eater, they didn't give up anything for the improvement. Maybe they gained a win. Maybe they gained 2 wins with the bullpen improvements. I don't know. That's Jack, Thomas. I haven't heard from you in a while. Head nods, like.
Yeah, I mean, what they gave up versus what they brought in, it improves their bullpen slightly. It for sure improves the numbers of the bullpen, like the number of bodies, because how many times have they been looking? Important. And how many times have they called up somebody, whether it was a Jake Eater or, unfortunately, Sam Aldegari or Caden Dana, because they need length from the bullpen? Now they have more strength in numbers. I think Andrew Chafin's still a good pitcher. Yeah. He's got, 2.9 or 2.70 ERA, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Chafin's been really good for the bulk of his career, and he's been good this year. He hasn't pitched a ton this year. I wonder if he dealt with an injury I didn't know about or something.
I thought he signed late.
That might have been it too. But I mean, they've been good. They've been good at run prevention. Like, they've been fine.
Yeah.
I just want to hear from Thomas. I haven't heard from Thomas in a while.
Hi, Taylor.
The lovely pipes of Tommy Lee Murray.
Good to hear from you. I mean, yeah, no. Andrew Chafin, Luis Garcia, like, yeah, they're good moves. Like, what they gave up for him, I'm like, I'm not gonna knock it. It's not like it's a bad trade by any means. I'm like, okay, I thought they were pretty good. It just kind of just kind of gave you the sense of where they were headed, though. When you saw the deal, you're just like, oh crap. I was at UCLA football practice covering it that day, so it's like there's a break where we can't watch practice, and as soon as I get to my car to just kind of hang out for about 40 minutes or whatever it is, I get the notification and I'm like, oh geez, okay, so they're not going to be sellers, it looks like. So I mean, just going off of it though, I mean, Andrew Chapin, like, good pitcher too, good clubhouse guy. Good, could be like a good mentorship kind of guy. Someone that brings a little bit of fire, intensity, passion to the roster, which, I know the Angels in the past, they haven't had that, and you've kind of seen that more lately. Guys like Zach Neto, Kenley Jansen, et cetera, going off of that. So good to see, something kind of going in the clubhouse. And I guess when you have guys like that, it can just really help mentor and better you in the long term, in terms of like showing players, younger guys, how
for the next 2 months.
Yeah. I mean, just, I'm trying to find the positives, but I guess mentorship and just showing you how to be a big leaguer for the rest of your career for a younger guy. Very, someone that you could kind of lean on when you're younger. So I think that's just the best way I would put it. But
now, quick show of hands, who was surprised they didn't trade Nico Cavadas, Matt Lugo, Jefferson Vargas, and Ryan Zefferson for Luis Garcia?
Definitely me. No, I'm kidding.
Hope that didn't go over. I see the smiles. I hope it didn't go over anyone's head. If they would have traded Jefferson Vargas straight up for Luis Garcia and Chafin, I would have been kind of excited. But so be it.
I gotta say, I was unaware of Andrew Chafin's grooming habits here.
Lack of.
Well, hey, that mustache keeps together.
Yeah.
No,
that's something.
So the thing about Andrew Chafin, I hope he gets. So Jack, Andrew, because you're going. So just full transparency from the Sporting Tribune. Jack Janes has coverage tonight on Friday night at Angel Stadium. Luis and Andrew did not talk on Wednesday. I don't know if Andrew was even there yet. I don't think Andrew was at the park on Wednesday night. Luis was. You're going to talk to Andrew for the first time today. You're going to talk to Luis for the first time today. Andrew Chafin needs a second locker in the clubhouse. He needs one to the left of his for his mini fridge filled with Busch Light.
Yes, I have seen that.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, you got to look it up. You're on YouTube right now. Just hit pause, click new tab, open up Andrew Chafin locker, and that's where we're gonna go with that. It's awesome. So hopefully he gets the Mike Trout treatment, and they give him a second locker.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate that they lost the whiskey guy and Kevin Newman, because he would hand out whiskey to the guys after every win. But, it's not a bad replacement when you lose your whiskey guy, but you bring in your Busch Light guy. So
it's about the calories, man.
Yeah.
See, Andrew Chafin cares. It's a calorie thing. You got to keep the calories down. That's what it is. I think he's awesome. I can't wait for the next 2 months. Are gonna be fun with Andrew Chafin, no doubt about that. But yeah,
I can't wait to see his failed starter shirt in person.
That's a good one. Zach, the initial thing about what you were asking about selling me selling you on these guys is the point in the script. Is did they make enough of a difference to be competing over the next 2 months, 1 month, or next week? Like, did they make enough of a move, enough of a push? And this is what we've been talking about the last half hour, is they didn't trade the prospects to improve that significantly. What they brought in doesn't make them good enough to compete for the next 2 months. Like I said, it really does matter that if this team is, and who was it that said if this team is like 3-4 games out September 10th? Is that you, Jack?
Sounds like something I'd say.
That sounds like something you'd say. We'll just go with Jack. So Jack said, verbatim, that if the Angels are out 3 games. No, I mean, did they do enough to do that? Because that would matter. That really would matter. And we talked about it last week. Ray Montgomery out there saying, let's go win some damn games, boys. Like, let's do this thing. They probably won't. But did they do enough to at least get to that September 10th mark? Let's call September 10th 5 games within a wild card spot. Did they do enough to do that?
It's tough to say just because I'm buying into the fact that when healthy, they can be a 500 team. I do like the way they have played at times this year to enough to be about a 500 team. The problem is the strength of schedule in this in August. I think it's tough. If they can just hold their head above water or at sea level for August, I think they're in pretty good shape to not like make noise in September, but to give themselves that sense of confidence of we're, 4 games out of a playoff spot still, and now we're in the middle of September, we're still there.
Zach, did we lose Jack?
No, I'm right here.
No.
I just don't know what else to say.
That's fine. Zach, what do you think?
I for the audio listeners, I threw my hands up in the air.
Okay.
I don't know. No, like this team has been pretty for all the things you can say about the Angels. They're at least consistent in their inability to get over the hump this season. So there's unless, like we talked about, some magic fairy dust comes sprinkling down and they flip the switch all of a sudden and win 15 games in a row or whatever you want to say. It's just not. They're the same team that they've been the last several months. And are the individual young players getting better? Yeah, and that's great to see. But, are they going to perpetually be 2 games under 500 for the rest of the season? Honestly, I think that would be like a great spot for them to be in. If they could maintain being 2 games under 500 through the final 2 months of the season, I think that's okay. But with the tough schedule, all I would like to see from them is not to have that August collapse, and to maintain this level of consistency of being sort of where they are. And with that, I hope that there's that people can have a sort of lack of expectation. Not to a point where they're going to collapse, but just don't expect them to make a run. Just sort of hope that they've been what they've been, and that would be a win for them at the end of the day, honestly. But in terms of moving them forward, they are who they are, man. It is what it is.
If they finish with the same record, 486 win percentage, it'll be their best record since 2018 when they were a game under 500.
You would hope so, right? You would hope that they are within 5 games of 500, roughly. I mean, I'd sound really smart if they won 75 games.
So would I.
So, Tommy Lee Murray, what you got, man?
I think they are who they thought we were. I think they are who we thought they were. That's what I'm going to go with on them. But the one thing I will add is the Angels do play they play better against winning teams. I don't know what it is, but they do. Because remember, they got swept by Pittsburgh. They got swept by another team that wasn't doing too hot. They struggled terribly against Chicago to open the season. But I think they're going to finish the month of August with a losing record when it's all said and done.
Okay. Hey, real quick, can you tell me a little bit about Motley Crue?
Me?
Yeah, you, Tommy Lee.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really listen to Motley Crue.
Oh God.
I wasn't really into the hair metal stuff. Now, you want to talk about Black Sabbath? We'll talk about Black Sabbath.
We can. Ozzy is the man. So
yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah, I don't know if I went through the script, guys. I got nothing left when it comes to this. I like I said, it felt underwhelming. I wouldn't have done this if I was the front office of the Angels, but I am not the front I swear to drunk officer. I don't know, man. I'm at that point in the podcast where I just don't know if I have anything else to say. So did we miss anything? Is there anything else you guys got when it comes to Angels trade deadline?
No, I'll just repeat what I said to Zach before we started recording. This would all feel so different and be a lot more digestible from a fan's perspective if Perry Manassian just came out and said, "Look, we're not going to make a trade to make a trade. If we didn't feel like any trade we would have made would have really impacted our team or made us better for the long run, we weren't going to make that trade, and we'd rather, you know, try and give our young guys a chance to play meaningful games down the stretch. That was more valuable than just making a trade to make a trade." But he didn't say that.
Zach, closing thoughts?
My closing thought is that we are 45 days away from the end of the Stanley Cup Final and 50 days away from NHL preseason starting. So I'm
ready.
in the dead center of my summer.
You are. Wait, hold on. Let's see. This third. Oh, go ahead, Thomas. You go ahead real quick. I got to take this.
Yeah. Dang, Taylor's gonna miss out on this. I'm gonna make him have to go back and listen. I'm just gonna end it with the Taylor Swift quote, the song August,
Oh God.
in the chorus. But I can see us lost in the memory. August slipped away into a moment in time, and I think that's just what this month is gonna be.
This guy bashes Motley Crue and then brings Taylor Swift into the podcast. Thanks, Travis.
I'm
So-
sorry.
No
Do you
problem.
have something against the greatest lyricist of our generation, Taylor? Is that
No, dude. Okay, let's go full
Taylor
transparency.
on Taylor crime going on?
Let's go full Taylor Blake-Ward transparency here.
Oh,
I
boy.
get my Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year,
Mhm.
and I promise you, I don't know, I probably got like 30 Taylor Swift songs downloaded on my Spotify. You know,
Okay.
I'm not. I saw her in concert, open for Brad Paisley 20 years ago. She's fine. I saw her at the Brandon Iron. If you guys are familiar with the Brandon Iron is, I like Taylor Swift plenty.
Sure.
Like I said, I got 30 songs. I probably listen to her 60 times a year, right? She is undeniably my most listened to artist because I drive with my wife in the car every day. So,
Mm.
I'm a little tired of Taylor Swift. Just listening to
Yeah.
her. I don't care. I don't know her. I don't care about her personal life. I like Travis Kelce plenty. He's good. Motley Crue is better. I listen to more Motley Crue than I do Taylor Swift.
Oh.
And Black Sabbath. Speaking of, game time, boys. Let's play a game. We're only an hour 7 into this, so if people have stuck with us, and I appreciate
Hold on,
all
Taylor.
of you that have, because we could use some subscribers. So subscribe. Uh-oh. What we got, Thomas?
I have a question, Taylor.
Hold
Who's the
on
better
to this
Kelsey,
microphone.
Jason or Travis?
Who's got
Oh,
more
no.
rings? Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Travis.
I will admit, I
But who-
thought I had
who's
a good
cooler?
joke. Both of them. They're both cool. The one, okay,
You're not,
this
you're not
is-
going
if
to
this
get
is
Happy
in
Gilmore.
reference to-
That's the one who's cool.
if this is in reference to anything to do with the Philadelphia Eagles, the one that didn't play for the Eagles. We'll go with that.
Oh,
Come
okay.
on, man. Come
Hey,
on,
one
man.
carries their podcast. One carries their podcast.
Yeah, but one carries the fame. And her name is Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for listening at this point. If you've gotten to this point, I hope you stick around for the rest of this. Please subscribe if you get a chance. Subscribe to the Sporting Tribune channel. Game time, boys. Oh, last thoughts on the Angels trade deadline. They do have a few things that are coming in extra. Robert Stevenson should be back soon. Christian Moore should be back soon. Not so sure about others like Chris Taylor and Hunter Strickland, but we're going to go with that. So, game time, boys. We played this last week. It is that person a country singer, a NASCAR driver, or a Angels minor leaguer based solely on their name? So, you guys have to agree on who is who. If you know who the person is or what their career is, can you just eliminate yourself from the game? But we're going to go on that. The 3 names today are Dylan Scott, Brennan Poole, not Brendan Poole, but Brennan Poole, and Montana Semel. So I will let you three dispute that.
I think Montana is a country singer right off the bat.
What a
That
name
seems too
Montana
obvious,
is.
though.
It does, but I think that's the reason.
Yeah, it could be like a stage name, not his actual name.
Or he was just
Montana's a
destined to
great
be
country name.
on the
Yeah.
stage. Yeah.
It is.
It seems like a guy that's really trying to make his way. Like, this is how I get my foot in the door. Is my name's Montana.
Yeah, I could buy that.
Wait.
Um,
Wait. I'm going to Google the middle names of the other people just so I've got to get. Dylan is Dylan Scott. Like, Scott is his middle name, so I won't go in his last name. His name is Dylan Scott.
Why don't we get
Montana
his last name?
Samel. Montana Samel, by the way, his middle name is Storm. That's his legal name, is Montana Storm Samel. Which is awesome. And Brennan Poole, let me see if I can pull up a middle name on him. Brennan Poole is
That feels like a.
no middle name. I got no middle name on Brennan. But Montana
like-
Storm Samel.
I think Brennan Poole is the baseball player.
I was gonna say NASCAR.
And very important.
I'm gonna
on
go
Brennan
with
Poole,
Poole
that
for
is
baseball.
Brennan.
Yeah, I could buy into the baseball. So Dylan Scott being the NASCAR driver, then
I'm down.
Yeah,
I
sounds
think
good
that
with me.
sounds right.
So what are we going with? We're going.
NASCAR baseball country.
So who's the NASCAR driver?
Dylan Scott.
Dylan.
And
Yeah.
you have Brennan Poole as a baseball player and Montana Samel as a country artist?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Dylan Scott is a absolutely garbage pop country artist. His name is Dylan
Okay.
Scott Robertson. He is atrocious. Brennan Poole is a AAA NASCAR driver who has spent some time in the top series. And
Perfect.
Montana Storm Samel is he's got 15 and 1/3 innings between Tri-City and the Complex League this year with the Angels. So that was a fun one. You guys missed out on that one pretty heavy duty. I love that.
We went 3 for
I
3
knew I'd
last
get you.
week.
What's that?
We went 3 for 3 last week, and then
Oh no, that's
skunked
what I'm
this
saying.
week.
You went 0 for
Yeah.
3 this week, 3 for 3 last week. So we're
Back
playing
to
500 ball
500.
here, buddies.
Yeah, back
The
to
goal
the
is
ball.
500.
That's what we do around here.
Goal is 500. On that note, weekend plans, guys. What do we got? Thomas, what are you doing this weekend, man?
It's WWE SummerSlam this weekend. I'm gonna see Cody Rhodes take the title back from John Cena.
Fair enough. Zach Kavanaugh, what do you got going on?
Absolutely nothing, man. And
What
that's
a
a beautiful
legend.
thing.
Should watch Happy Gilmore too.
I will not do that.
It's good. It's actually
I'd rather be outside.
It's actually pretty good.
That's
I'm
pretty
not-
good,
I'm not-
man. I like
I'm not
it.
taking my time. I'm not wasting my valuable hours on Happy Gilmore 2. It's just not happening.
That's okay. That was my post trade deadline thing. I was watching that last night. Jack James, what do you got going on this weekend, man? You got Angels.
Got Angels coverage Friday, Sunday. Saturday, I have my girlfriend's grandparents' 60th wedding anniversary party, so that's going to be an all-day thing on Saturday. But I feel like we didn't give the Ducks enough limelight in this episode. Zach, did they re-sign Mason McTavish yet?
No, that still has not happened. No,
And that's all the Ducks stuff we have for this week. Taylor, what are you doing this weekend?
that's literally it.
That was good, man. You're playing host duties next week. That's awesome. That was
That's all we
great.
got. It's all we got.
Yeah.
It's the only thing we're waiting on. It's
That's
just
not
like
true. Hey, wait. You said we are 45 days removed from the Stanley Cup final.
the Cup final was 45 days ago, and the start of NHL preseason is in 50 days. Yeah.
I was gonna say unofficially we are 45 days away from Ducks rookie camp.
Yes, unofficially. Yeah.
Unofficially, we are 45 days from Ducks
Unofficially.
rookie camp. My plans for the weekend, I'm gonna pull a Jack James tonight and go bar hopping.
Wow.
Have some fun. I don't know. Saturday I think I'm going to the beach, and Sunday I think I have Angels with you or something. It's something. I have Angels one of these days. I don't know which day I have, but I have Angels this weekend. So, on on that note, for Thomas Murray, who you can follow on socials at Thomas_NL_Murray, Zach Kavanaugh, who you can follow Zach CACHCAG, ZachCav, and Jack James at JackJames_. I am TaylorBlakeWard for the Sports Being 4 Wing on Katella. You guys have an awesome